good evening. A little overdue for this video, but I accidentally dropped my phone and shattered it, so I had to wait to get it repaired. So you get some more content up. I have the Rovic RV1S, which is a swiveling wheel, 3-wheel cart that came in. I'm excited to see this in action, especially with the eWheels unit. I have already pushed it around just the garage, and with that swiveling front wheel, it is pretty cool how maneuverable it is. I think it's going to be even better with the eWheels unit because you'll be able to turn a lot quicker, a lot more maneuverable, less stress on the unit. So in addition, I got this box in from Alphard Golf. I've already cut open the boxes, but I have not looked in them. I wanted to wait to see, but this first one's located the Wheelie Bar anti-tip wheels for the unit. So I know this is a brand new product they're just getting out. Listening to customers, understanding that people were driving them on inclines and having their bags come back on top of them. I've yet to experience it, but yeah, I will have to look and see how these install and get these put on, but looks like a very simple, easy to adjust in and out. Interesting. That's so you can easily pop it off. I should probably look at how this works before I start popping it every which way, but it looks really cool. I'll have to look at how this installs and get this on the unit as well. I'll get a review of it and try to find some good steep inclines to take it up and see how it handles. A couple more things in this box that I can feel. One is the other wheelie bar, same as that one to the other side. Really cool design. And I knew they said they were going to throw this in, which is kind of cool. This is the new remote sleeve, which makes it easier to hold the remote on there. It's just a silicone sleeve, kind of cool. I will get this on the remote and see how that feels with it on there. Throw it on there, and very cool. Simple instruction manual showing how everything works. So I will get that on a video. This other one, I believe, is going to be for, it says Rovic all models. This, I'm guessing, is a bracket assembly. And so I will probably extend this video and add in the actual installation of the Rovic brackets and show how you have to take the brakes off the back wheels, because this does have regular brakes, so that'll have to be removed in order to be able to run these brackets. But once again, same sort of brackets on the other ones. It looks like it might be a slightly different design, maybe a little heavier duty, but very well made, plastic and metal again on this. Interesting design. Very cool. Looks a little bit different. The clamping mechanism's a little bit different on it. Clamp right here. Interesting. I'll have to see how it works when it goes on there. But little L lets you know that's a rear left wheel. Make sure I'm not missing anything in there. Once again, everything comes wrapped up nicely. And here's the right bracket assembly. Same thing, 2 screws with the nylon threaded nut that has nylon washer in there to keep it from backing up. And very simple system again. And I'm wondering if this right here is where the wheelie bars mount to or something. I'm wondering if that's what that little bracket there is for. So let's check it out. All right, I'm going to reposition and get this set up probably upside down or some fashion to show how to get the rear assembly off. I have my simple set of tools right here. I've got the ruler to be able to measure the width to see if I have to adjust the eWheels unit. Just a simple tool set. I will run through what tools are needed, and I have not even looked at the instructions, so I'm going to learn as I go along. Hopefully it's not too painful watching, but let me reposition the camera and restart shortly. Alright, so on this wheel assembly, I'm going to kind of show you before I start in. It's got 2 screws right here on the bracket. It's kind of dark, it's hard to see. Your brake mechanism is a simple foot brake that latches in, but it also goes across the bottom and to the other one. So there's 2 spots on the frame where I'm going to pull these screws and remove both of them off the bat. I'll do that first just so that that cable, the brake cable that runs to both sides, is off. So I'll grab both of those out real quick. just so as I take it apart, nothing's dangling funny. The actual nuts up on the brake assembly look to be 10 millimeters, but one of them looks like it has a plastic bracket on the brake, so I will most likely have to use just a regular open-end wrench or adjustable wrench to work that loose, but shouldn't be a problem. So for pulling this little bracket off, I'm going to take it off, and because I don't like exposed metal, my pickiness, I'm just going to run that screw back in because it's not going to hurt anything being in there. Just run it back in. That way, if I need to ever hook that brake back up, if I ever want to turn it back into a manual push cart, not that I know why I have any desire to do that after experiencing this, but the screw's there and I don't have that ugly silver hole. I'm going to get this one out too. Quickly and simply. To whoever pointed out on the forums, yes, the legs of my stand cart that I use still have the plastic on it just because I've never ripped it off. I almost forget it's there. I see it every so often. It irks me. I will end up ripping it off. I'll get this off too. Plastic there. So let's go up to the top wheel assembly. It's going to be a little hard to see, but there's two, kind of like the replacement frame, there's two nuts with the nylon threads in them and screws on the back side. I'm just going to use a 10 millimeter socket on one of them, the one that isn't blocked out, and the other one I will have to use an open inch wrench, but usually once you get it past that nylon washer, you can take it off by hand, and yes, it is very easy to get that off. Pull the screw out, and I'm going to put it back in there once I get it completely off. It's my little OCD. I like making sure that if I have to ever put it back together, I have all the parts together. So, not that you'd have to do that, but this is the one that I could go over to my toolbox and get out a 10 millimeter open end wrench, but just using the screwdriver on the back side and this adjustable wrench works good enough. We're already past that nylon washer. It'll be out in just a second, at which point we'll be able to pull off this side and hopefully throw the new bracket on. Alright. So the other screw pushed out real nicely. This one's kind of bound in there. Yeah, it wants me to unscrew it all the way out, so it's kind of bound up against the plastic, just the way it comes from factory. But there we go. Now it's past the point where it's binding and it's out. So now this will slide off there, easy as can be. I'll go ahead and put these back in later just so I won't lose them, but I'm going to set this out of the way and let me grab the left bracket and get it positioned and ready to go. Here's our left bracket, and if I'm not mistaken, it's going to go on just like this. And it kind of helps you in cheats because, as you can see, you have the thinner plastic washers and thicker plastic washers. It looks like the thicker ones are going to go on the actual pole right there, and the thinner ones will go here. So I'm going to try to cheat it and put the don't lose that washer or anything. I'm going to try to put it on one side and then slip it on the other as well. Alright, I'm going to pause it and look at the instructions for the first time because it's not sitting at the angle that I would expect it to. So either I need to trust it and just put it on and assume that that is right. I mean, it does look right there, but once I got it sitting on there, it looked funny. Actually, I'll proceed. If I have to pull it apart, I will show it so you guys can learn from my mistakes, hopefully. Alright, let's find the hole. There we go. I hope it's understandable that I'm getting the top one in, then I'm going to pull the second screw out and just kind of flip it down. So I'm here to pull that off and make sure we're still in frame. We are in frame. Good. I hope these are also 10 millimeter. Look, yeah, they are. It's nice. Same size as a factory equipment. I like that attention to detail. Means I'm not going to have to scramble and look for another tool. Let's get this on here and see if it looks like it's at the right angle. And it does. So it was just an optical illusion before. I should have trusted my instincts and gone with it, but part of me said, hey, that looks like it's a funny angle. And I almost backed off it. Good thing I'm in that right mood where it's fail fast. If it doesn't work, we'll pull it apart and try it again. Not the worst thing for YouTube to see it going on live and see me have to adjust the plan, but so far looks good. Get it nice and snug. You don't have to overly kill it. Remember, it's going through its aluminum bar there, so you don't want to crush anything, so be conscious. You are pinching two plastic washers against a metal tube here, so run it till it's snug and make sure it's not going to back out on you, but you get that nylon washer, so as long as the head of that's past the nylon washer, it should never back out on you. So, alright, I'm going to flip it around so you can see the other side, and be back in just 1 second. So hopefully it's a better view now. As you can see, the other wheel is off with the brake cable. It's got the two little metal tabs where it's hooked to the frame. It's sitting here. Actually, those are plastic tabs now that I feel them. They're just hanging out. Putting this out of the way, I did put the two screws back in it, so I think it's a smart idea in case you ever have to go back to it or need it for anything. And now I'm going to remove this side. It looks like I can get to both nuts here with this. The actual foot brake on the other side made it so I'd use an opening wrench, but hopefully this will go slightly quicker because I'll be able to just get the screwdriver on the back side. I'm trying to give you guys a better visual, so not quite as easy for me to work around it this way with the screwdriver on the back side, but we'll make do. Got to think about the people out in TV land who are following along in case you guys have questions. I do want to reiterate, I've got a lot of good questions through the forums and through YouTube. Questions you guys have had that I've been able to answer. And as you guys have questions, and I'm covering stuff on the course and in real life, even testing in my backyard, please don't hesitate. If there's a question you have that's going to help you decide whether or not to purchase this unit, please ask. I want to help because this whole video series was for me to evaluate whether or not this is something I want to incorporate into my golfing. So far, I'm seeing a lot of positives. I have so much energy after walking 18 holes. There's one course locally that has 3 9-hole courses, and normally you play 2 of them, but you can play 3, and I want to try and see, to see the battery life on this, and being willing to push it if I run out of battery life. I want to just see how many holes I can get, but also I want to be able to just see how I feel, because after playing 18 holes a couple times, I haven't faded at the end. I've actually played really good golf, and actually my second 9 has been better than my front 9. I've actually finished really strong. So I want to see if that's a continued theme, because if so, just health-wise, I feel really good getting out there and walking the course. Getting better exercise has helped me with some of my health goals and keeping the weight off that I took off over the last year. So I'm enjoying it. I don't mind having a cart. I will say every time I get this on the course, I have people come over from other fairways to say, is that thing computerized? How are you moving that thing? Because they'll see it driving up ahead of me and me steering it, and people get really interested and want to know, what are you doing? How's that working? So it has been nice. It is nice to have that kind of unique factor and people be interested. And one of the local courses I play at actually sells the push carts, and so they saw this, and I kind of explained what it is, because there's a big community there who walk the course with push carts or carrying their bags, and they actually inquired, and I let them know, well, if you sell the Rovic line, the clickier line, the same distributor you can get this Alphard Golf stuff from. And so they're interested in getting a couple units to actually potentially rent out, and if nothing else, to be able to sell in their shop, because since I've had this out on their course, they've got a lot of people asking, hey, where can I get one of those at? Do you guys sell those? So it's been interesting. It's been neat seeing people drive their carts over to our hole or walk over just to see what it is and ask questions. So good attention for the brand, and good to know people are also interested in this. And I think it's a winner from what I've seen so far, but I'm going to be honest and open. I'm hoping that this gives me a little bit more better steering. I mentioned in a previous video, I like the stability of the four-wheel carts when I was pushing it by hand, because I would just try to shove it up the fairway so I could drink water and kind of take a little break walking up, thinking about my strategy. I wanted that stability because I often pushed it too hard and ended up dumping my clubs over. And so the four-wheel cart protected me against myself. Now that I'm driving it and don't have to be a, clown throwing his clubs up the fairway, I don't need that necessarily. So this is fully extended out right now. Let me see if it's all in frame, because I'm going to run a measurement. I don't know if you guys really care to see all of this, but I will get most of it in frame so that you guys can understand. I'll show you the measurement. I did watch my original video and look up that the original width was 25.5 inches. And so that's what the cart stops are adjusted to. So I'm going to measure outside to outside. And it looks like I'm going to have to adjust it for this cart, because this is just over 27.5 inches. So I will check it with the unit in a second, but looks like we probably want to extend that out just a little bit more, because otherwise I don't think it's going to clamp on both ends. I think it's going to run into one of the sides. So I'll verify that shortly, but looks like it's 2 inches wider overall. And yeah, I will be back shortly. I might actually try to hook the wheelie bars up real quick. I'm going to look at the instructions and understand how that works. So just a second, and I'll either be hooking this up to the unit and looking at adjusting it, or I'll be putting the wheelie bars on, depending on what's easier. So one moment, I'll be back. All right, so we are going to install the new wheelie bars, the instructions. It took me reading through it a couple times for me to fully grasp it, so I do want to cover this for anyone else. My first confusing thing was I was trying to find the screws. There was a little bag of screws in the bottom of one of the bags that contain the units that I completely overlooked. So find that. The concept is really simple. This is the new modified clamp. So if you have the old clamp and you want to use wheelie bars, contact them when you order your wheelie bars and they'll give you the new clamps. This clamps onto the eWheels unit the same way. The difference is you're going to have this wheelie bar. So if you push this little button down, you're collapsing that little thing. And what you're going to do essentially is you're going to mount this in here with the screws I just showed you. So you'll have it rotated out of the way like this. You'll clamp it on the eWheels unit, clamp it down. This will swing up and it'll click into here. It'll work better once that screw's in place. It'll help. So once it clamps in, you can then take the actual wheelie bar. Let me make sure this is in frame. It is not. So you can then take this wheelie bar and you can insert it in here, push the button, and go till it stops. And now you have your wheelie bar. You have screws on the side here that can actually adjust this part in or out to get the clearance you need to make sure it's the right depth through unit. It comes preset with what they think is right, but try it and see for yourselves. And I am actually going to tighten down this screw right here too, because it looks like there's a lot of play in the wheelie bar assembly, more than there probably should be. But I'm going to go ahead and install that nut, and then we'll go to the other side and see. Hopefully these are still the same 10 millimeters. Make it easy on me. All we've needed so far is a screwdriver, a socket wrench with a 10 millimeter socket, and one open adjustable wrench for the one that was hard to get to. So I'm going to say we want the nut on the inside, just because we won't scratch against anything with it being on the inside of the cart. I'm sure that's personal preference. Once again, snug this down. You don't have to go Herculean. It is once again plastic and aluminum tubing, so get it snug and make sure you're past the point where you're through that nylon washer on this side, which we are, so it won't back up. And at that point, make sure she still has enough flexibility to rotate in and out of place, and she does. She'll lock in. It looks like to me when this is in, we'll test it and see, but I'm gonna move the camera, actually I'll move the card around really quick to check and make sure you can see this. Come around to this side. You have these two screws here, and you've got holes in this little piece here. I don't know if you can see, so this whole bar will slide up as you adjust it to get the right height for your wheelie bar. So I'm going to tighten this top screw just a little bit because it seems a little loose for my liking. It doesn't seem like it's through the part where the nylon washer is, so I'll get that. Check that when you get yours as well. It looks like everything else is through the nylon washers and is snug tight, so maybe they come intentionally loose for you to adjust, but I'm going to do that now. And I'm going to pause the video and we'll get around to the other side so I can hook the other wheelie bar on. So, 1 second. Alright, so for side number 2, here's our clamp assembly again. It's going to go in here like this so it can snap in and provide that benefit. So, once again, I'm going to run the same screw that comes in the kit all the way through, putting personal preference, but I'm putting the nut in, exposed in, over here. That way if there's a little sticking out, it won't catch anyone's ankle going by or scratch up on anything. So not that it should anyways, because you got a recess here, but better safe than sorry, right? So just snug it up enough that it is through past that nylon lock washer so it won't back out on you. And once you have it, go a little bit further. The other side I did. You don't want to flex this plastic too much. That feels good. It's nice and snug, and that way when you clamp it to your unit, you snap this up in place, you got your wheelie bar. So I will say this one right here is already run out. Once again, I'm pointing to something not in frame. I apologize. Right here, this washer is already clamped down so that the threads are through the washer. So we will not have to adjust this side. The other one just was loose, maybe didn't get tightened at factory. So now I'm going to pull the eWheels unit over and measure it, show you guys, and most likely I'm going to have to adjust the stops out one location on each side so that it'll better fit and run with this. So give me 1 second and I'll show that, and then I will show it clamped up, and hopefully tomorrow I can get you some footage in my backyard. And if everything goes as planned and we have good weather this weekend, I definitely want to get this out on the course quickly just to get some initial feedback how it works with that swiveling front wheel. So 1 minute, I'm going to get the other unit pulled over and we will measure and check. Alright, here's the eWheels unit. I believe it is fully expanded out, but I'm going to walk around. I apologize for the dirt up inside the wheels. I have been using this and using it on the course, and it's been holding up fine. She's probably due for a light scrub down with the scrub brush, but it doesn't hurt being a little bit dirty. Shows it's been getting used and being put to good use. Testing has been fun so far. So she is fully extended, and this is right at about 26.5 inches. So I'm going to adjust both of the stops out one position, flip it over so we see our stops again on either side. I'll adjust this so we can get a little closer in and you can kind of see what I'm doing. But that stop right there is the one that we are going to adjust. All you need is a screwdriver. Remember from the last time we did this, you don't have to overly tighten that. It's just going into, I believe, a little aluminum threaded insert on the inside there. So get it snug, but don't kill yourself. All this is doing is preventing it from walking too far out. So I have a feeling, slide it out one location on each side and we should be good to go. Alright, so don't lose the screw. It does beg to a good question. I probably would be close just adjusting one side out because it looks like about an inch on each side, but I don't know if it'll drive any differently if one side is longer than the other. So it's a question probably worth asking the guys at Alphard Golf if that matters. I don't recall in the manual it's saying you had to keep it uniform. Because of my OCD, and I know it'll be a little more stable with it being wider in the back anyways, I'm probably going to do that anyways, just to keep it equal, so I like it. But if you're driving a course that has bridges or something where it's tight, you might want to get it just to where it is. And I'm going to measure it just if anyone else is trying to do this and they want to know, can you cheat it and just go one side longer? It looks like it's right at 27.5 inches eyeballing it on either edge. It might be tight hitting, it might be a little bit shy anyway, so you might have to do both sides anyway. I'm going to flip this around gently so it's back in frame. You can see me do the other side. Just a second. Make sure that's centered up in frame. Yep. And so we will loosen this up, slide the wheel out, tighten it back up, and then we should be able to clamp it in the unit and be good to go. If you had both of the units, I know I can foresee the question now, what do you do if you have two units with two different widths? Well, technically with this being wider right now, you can still run it in the four-wheel Rovic that I have, or click gear that I have, click gear 80. The only thing you have to realize is the wheels will stick out a little bit more on the side. If it's too short, it won't work in one unit. If it's a little long for one unit, you're perfectly fine. Just know that size it for the longest, the widest cart, and then if anything, your wheels stick out a little bit more on the shorter unit, but it doesn't hurt anything. I mean, if you really care, you could adjust this each time. It only takes a second on each side to adjust that little slider, but me personally, I would set it for the larger of the two. All it is a stop to make sure it's not going way too far out, more than you need each time. So now this is set up, really quickly I'm going to snap it on and try to show you guys how it works with the wheelie bars. And so let me reposition. I'm going to pause just so I can reposition. This will probably be the last part of the video for tonight, so you can see how it clamps in, how the wheelie bars work. I do have this, while I've got you here, I do have this nice little silicone sleeve they made. I think the idea here is to have something a little bit easier to hold on to when running the remote, using the remote. I experienced on mine, I left mine clamped, the remote clamped to the other cart while it was in the car, and the car got hot even with the windows cracked. And so since it was holding up in the air onto the magnet's held in by a metallic sticker on the back. The heat worked the adhesive loose so that the actual remote fell down on my car seat, and the magnet sticker were still hooked to the unit. And so I replaced it back in the remote, and then just don't leave the remote hanging up in the air so the weight of it's working against it, and it's fine. But I think this will help contain it as well. Also give you a little more grip because it's a nice rubbery case. So I'm looking forward to seeing, throwing the remote in there and see how it feels. Sometimes the little things make a difference. I know I use silicone sleeves, a lot of people do with cell phones, because it makes them a little more resistant to dropping so the batteries won't pop out. And I think that's going to help contain that door, because I have had it drop out one time on me. So I do like the idea of this. In my video where I'm testing it in my backyard, I will absolutely have this on it to give you some thoughts on how easy it is to slide in, if I think it makes a big difference or not. I don't know, but I will let you know when I figure out. Alright, let me reposition so you guys can see me clamping this on for the first time and how those wheelie bars work, and be back in a second. Alright, so this is going to be a little cramped and difficult to show in my garage, but we'll make the best of it. When I go to show it, testing it out in my backyard, hopefully tomorrow, it's supposed to rain, so hopefully I get a clear afternoon where I can get it out. If not, over the weekend, my first available chance, I'll show that. But in addition, I'll show it from full collapse down push cart unit, the new Rovic, all the way through clamping it on, so you'll get a better idea. But for quick, to show you how the new clamp system works, I have popped these out. They just have those little spring-loaded buttons that snap in, and there's a button to release them. So these pull out. As we did before, we're going to line this up on our unit, make sure it's pretty even on each side. Make sure I measured those stops to the right, and it's going to clamp, and it is. So I'm walking around to each side, making sure it's about right. And I'm glad I did on either side released it, because it is tight. I don't think it would have worked if we only adjusted one anyway. So answer the question. So get the clamp down. That's nice, tight, and secure. I like the new clamps. Might be in my head, but it feels really snug clamping it down. Alright, and once they're clamped down, we're going to take this bar right here and snap it up in there. And they say you should make a click, and hopefully you heard that audible click. We'll look and make sure, yep, this side's in too. So we're going to bring this up until it clicks. And then you just take the wheelie bar unit, push that button in, and it'll stop once it's in place here. There's your release button to take it back out, but push that button, snap it in. We'll do it on the other side as well. That is a really clever design. As it is right now, I'm going to guess that you have about an inch or two of clearance. You can raise that higher or lower, but if you start going up an incline, it hits that quickly. Push it forward a little bit. You have it hit. I don't know how well you can see it on the unit, but I'm lifting it back, and it hits and stops, so it is not going to fall backwards. I'm going to leave it at that setting. It looks good. I think from factory they have it set at a good spot. I will try it going up some hills. It's nice to know that your bag's not rocking back too much, because if you did, it put a lot of strain on those little wheelie bars. But nice, very nice design, very simple, not over-engineered. They did a good job trying to keep it simple. I will very quickly unclamp it just to show once again how you would take the wheelie bars off and how you would take the clamps off. I would not personally try to take the clamps off with these wheelie bars attached like this, because you're going to have to swing them all the way underneath and you might put stress on something you don't want to. So, I'm not sure how well you can see it on here, but right here, it's a little button, a little plastic button, and when you push this in, this slides right out. It compresses that button for you. So you pop this out, and you just push a little pressure down on this, and it swings backwards out of the way so that you can undo your clamp. You go around to the other side and do the same thing. Push the button, move the wheelie bar, pop that out and underneath, and this is the clamp. Comes undone here. I really like how tight and snug these clamps are set. It's a really good lockup. At which point you can remove this from the eWheels unit. You can fold it up to put it in your car. So I'm going to get this uploaded tonight for you guys. I do like the new clamp system. It was very simple to put on. There was not a lot of extra work with the brakes. It was just remembering to take the two little pieces that hook the cable across off ahead of time so that it was freed up. I will put that back in frame so you see everything is self-contained in these two units. So as you take it off, as long as you remember to pull off the screws in these little tabs that are hooked to the frame, it comes off very easily as one unit, two tires, with the one brake pedal that locks both sides in. So the rear brake wasn't hard at all because there was a foot brake on this. I will go over some of the features of the Rovic RV1S cart, swivel wheel. Not a lot to it. It clamps the bag in nicely, has, you know, a little cup holder, a couple things, has a rain umbrella holder, and just has a lever where you can either lock that front wheel in if you wanted a fixed front wheel, or you can make it so it swivels. Quite honestly, I don't know with this eWheels if I will ever lock that front wheel in, because it doesn't seem like it makes sense. It seems like it's going to drive better, steer, but might learn something on the course, a reason why we might want to consider that. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you guys coming along with me. Please do hit me up with any questions you have regarding the eWheels unit, the new cart, the little wheelie bars, even the little silicone cover for the remote. If you guys have any questions, I will get them answered. I appreciate it. All right. See you guys hopefully this weekend, if not tomorrow evening.